Good morning, everybody. We're talking basic education today, and particularly your districts. And I guess one of the things that you want to make sure you find out today, if you're not sure, is where is your local district office? Because that's a pivotal point for you. If you're a parent, this is a communication place where you can interface with the education department, with your schools, etc. So please find out where your local district office is. They can help you a great deal with some of your education questions. Okay, let's take some of the questions that we've got here on the floor, and also we're monitoring Twitter. We'll start getting to your questions shortly. And we're going to table number 14 now, where we'll find Malose Kutumela. Table 14, Malose.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. Let me applaud the Minister and the DM for awarding excellence. And I know you've got a quarterly interaction with district directors where they are sharing their good practices. But I'm worried because we still haven't got some problems where actually this question was not supposed to go directly to yourselves. I should be naming district XYZ so that they can answer for themselves. We still find schools with poor leadership and management. We still find schools which are still performing at zero. We still find schools where we have got unresolved cases and teachers going for sick leave for more than 3 years or even 5 years. We just want to check what is it that the district are doing, because instead of, for lack of a better way, I will be say harassing and frustrating teachers, instead of supporting the schools so that we get better schools in the near future. Like I'm saying, we're supposed to be directing this question to particular district. Unfortunately, we can't do that.
Do you have any districts you know?
Peter, if you want to know, let's go off the camera.
Okay, but I think that perhaps the districts that are challenged are known. What conversations are you having with them?
You know, that's one of the factors, and that's some of the work that districts have been doing. I just don't have the fresh statistics in terms of how many schools would have been dysfunctional in a district, what they've done to interact with those districts, which will involve in some other instances dealing with the leadership in the school, dealing with the communities in the schools, and exactly this dysfunctionality and making sure that schools are functional is the function, and it really occupies the work of the districts more in terms of really interacting and supporting schools. So I would need information to say specifically in which areas. We are aware through our monitoring some of the problems in provinces, and we interact directly with provinces. Unresolved cases, we monitor as national. I mean, we have one province, which I can't mention, which has more than 1,400 legal cases which are just not being resolved. We've sent legal teams into the province to help the province resolve those problems. So provinces, when we meet with provinces, they account on such things to say how many cases are unresolved, which schools are under poor leadership, and what is it that they're doing with those, dealing with those problems. You know, labor issues are protracted. We have to follow procedures. It's not something that we can wish away to come in and say, I think we're not performing, take your jacket and go. So you have to go through a number of processes, support, mentoring, until such time that I think you have to reach a stage where you say, we can't continue like this, we have to release you. But it is a process that districts are supposed to undertake by law.
Okay. Table 20, Dr. Tagalani Rambao.
Thank you, Peter. Tagalani Rambao from the Auditor General Office. One of the things that keeps on coming, or we see as a challenge from the districts, is record keeping. We find that it's very difficult to find record across different areas within a district. And when you look at that, it becomes very difficult for for that district to celebrate its successes, but most importantly to identify areas that need improvement. And by way of an example, if you were to go to a school, you find that 3 or 2 officials, or more than 2 officials but then the districts will not even realize that the same challenges that happen there, they can resolve for all the areas. That's the challenge. Can you please comment on that, Minister?
Okay.
No, thank you very much for that. And in fact, I'd indicated earlier in conversation that we're doing some different things in the Department of Basic Education. The one was the Lurits, where we were able to track the records of learners. The other is the National Education Information Management System, where we could tell you, provide you with visuals and a description of each and every school, who is leading the school. And more importantly now, the district-driven data system, which gives you information and data in real time that is reliable, that is accurate, and that is relevant. That would include the performance of learners. It would deal with issues of infrastructure and in almost a whole school evaluation and profiling of a school within a district. We do believe that that is a step forward. But lastly, to say to you that not very long ago, if you went to the Eastern Cape, you would have found that less than 18% of the schools had connectivity in terms of ICT for administrative purposes. So they were unable to use the South African schools management system. Today, more than 92% of the schools are connected. This would mean that the data that we seek to obtain, which becomes much easier available, you don't have to travel distances, it's almost seamless. And I do believe in time, very soon, we would be much more efficient as a system. That does not detract from the importance of the issues that have been raised by the colleague in relation to the importance of data for purposes of better planning and efficient delivery of quality education.
Right.
Peter, if I could just come in briefly, and that's why we said in this term, what we want to focus on is issues of efficiency and quality. We acknowledge that there's lots of inefficiencies in the system, and we are systematically beginning to address them. And it's also just responding quickly on matters that have been brought to the attention of the sector. So that's one of our key focus in this term, to say the sector has to improve its efficiency in dealing with situations, all of them in different ways, and quality. And that's what we commit to the nation, to say during this term we'll focus on those two areas. And that's one of the key areas we really want to put our energies in.
All right. I'm told that there's a follow-up question on table number 23 around the Eastern Cape. Table 23. Bolelani, is that Kowane?
Yes.
Yes.
Minister, I think, as you know, that the Eastern Cape in terms of performance is always number last. And I really want to know whether you are paying any special attention to the Eastern Cape. It really makes my heart, it breaks my heart that my province, where I'm original from, keeps on being number last. And I really beg you to do something to make sure that this province performance keeps on rising.
Okay.
And you'll be aware, and which was quite surprising, most awards went to the Eastern Cape. Which is quite strange, because in maths and science, in the foundation phase, Eastern Cape is leading. In your ECD, your grade 1, 2, 3, Eastern Cape is leading because they have a very robust early childhood development education. On maths, science, as I say, all the awards went there. And the fact that, as I say, we have a 1+4 is partly what Eastern Cape itself had initiated without us, 1+9. And that's what took me, the director of Kumbu to really get even the ministerial award. So what I can assure you, with even the people of the Eastern Cape themselves are doing all they can to get the province out of the quagmire. The biggest problem is that even those on top are refusing to let go. Northwest is quite clear that it's not leaving a second position unless it goes one. Gauteng and Western Cape are tied on each other, fighting for position 1. The Free State is claiming back, so it's quite tough with those top 4. So it's going to be quite difficult to penetrate those top 4 positions, because those 4 provinces themselves are fighting hard not to let go. But the ones at the bottom are trying hard in their own right. So Eastern Cape is trying very hard, I can assure you. They're doing all they can to get themselves out of the quagmire.
I suppose in the end, it doesn't matter who's first, as long as everybody
is trying hard.
Everybody is in the high 80s or whatever it is, and that we don't have people 60 and just scraping through.
I mean, Mpumalanga has just been every year, even if there's difficulties, whether it's change of curriculum, it's fighting to get to the top 4. So, and they're already at 70. I mean, when they started at 50-something, as you said, the target is that no one should operate below 80%. And that's why Gauteng, Western Cape, and Northwest is difficult because all their districts perform above 80%. So it's quite difficult to shake them from the top.
No, thank you very much. You know, it's just to embellish what the Minister is saying. You know, 4 years ago, the Eastern Cape had never gone beyond 50% in the National Senior Certificate Examination. Last year and the year before, they were close to 65%, already indicating a very strong positive movement towards quality improvement. So I think there is indeed hope for the Eastern Cape, and much is happening in the Eastern Cape to provide support for the province in terms of teacher development and a range of things. You're seeing it already in the foundation phases and the intermediate phases. Eastern Cape is no longer at the bottom or rung of the ladder. It's between 4 and 5. And this heralds a promising future for a province that has huge, huge potential. But lastly, to say to you that the Eastern Cape has also been the recipient of 82 state-of-the-art schools just in the past 18 months. And there are another 100 under construction. So we're creating environments conducive to learning. We're bringing ICT there, huge programs for teacher development. And for the first time, they have an MEC that is serving for the second term. For the first time, they've had only 2 superintendents general in 6 years. You know, there it was really a rotation of MECs previously, and so there is stability in the environment. There are huge challenges, but I do believe the trajectory is correct in terms of improvement and a better future for the children of the Eastern Cape.
All right, okay, fantastic. Table 14, here's a question that I wanted to ask, but I'm glad that Ronel van Dijk is going to ask it, actually. Table 14, Ronel.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. Good morning, Minister, Deputy Minister. What I would like to know is what can the private sector do to assist the Minister in what she has to do? We at Spur Corporation, through the Spur Foundation, are involved in a number of early childhood development initiatives, and we would love to partner with you.
Okay.
No, thank you very much, Peter. I really have to say, South Africans are such great people, you have no idea. If you recall, in 2013, led by Mr. Sizwe Nxasana, Yomak Lambeti, Futim Toba, Goldberg, and Mutlatsi, you know, some of your senior people in the private sector set up what we call the National Education Collaboration Trust. We work with them in districts, in 8 of the districts. We normally, because we have a difficulty of coordinating support so that it can be consolidated, and our plea and request has been that through the leadership of Sizwe, without necessarily taking over initiatives, we coordinate our business response through the NCT. So we welcome that. We also sit on the trust. We will take your details, and then to see how we consolidate the support that we get from business, normally through that trust. It's a very loose coordination of trust, but it's to coordinate the work that we do so that if someone's doing any work in maths, then we can even take the experiences, the lessons, and nationalize them. And that's been the importance of having to work through that education collaboration trust, which Sizwe Nxasana is leading. So we'd like to engage and see if indeed you would want to cooperate with us through the trust, or even separately, independently. But as I say, our preference has been to work through the trust so that we can coordinate much more coherently the work that we do with the private sector. But they really have been coming to the party, and it's been extremely useful. That's why even this morning we're going to have this round table. It's all the private and intellectuals in the medicine science environment who are going to be sitting with us, interrogating the plans that we have, and then identifying areas of support where they can really slot in to support the work and the plans that we have, and strengthening them also with their own experiences.
Okay, we're very fortunate to have some provincial MECs here, and MEC for Education Gauteng, MEC Panyaza Lesufi is here, and I'm going to get a microphone to you. I know you weren't expecting a question to come your way, but
He's gone out.
Is he not here? Oh, he's just left. Oh, what a... Is there somebody sitting there?
There is an MEC from Mpumalanga.
Okay, from Mpumalanga. Okay, great. If
4
we could
plus
just-
1.
Okay,
And there's 4+1 leaders.
okay. Table 7. All right. MEC, if you could just tell us a little bit about, perhaps from a provincial level, because these districts sit within the provinces themselves. Give us a provincial perspective from where your office, how you're seeing these districts functioning and how you're working with them.
Good morning, everybody. Until
Sorry.
better first thing. In Mpumalanga, even in the executive management meeting, we meet with our district directors so that we plan together, we do everything together. We support our district at all angles, in whatever way, because education is taking place in the districts. So, in the question that was raised about small schools, which the minister has correctly answered, in Mpumalanga also we are building boarding schools. We are closing the farm schools, all the schools that are not sustainable, where there's multi-grade teaching, we are closing them, but not all, because it's something that we're going to achieve over years. As I'm speaking, we're busy building the 5th boarding school. We've opened 4, and we've closed more than 20 schools in order for us. So now, next year, 2016, we're going to close 8 farm schools to address the case of farm schools, because we're going to open a new boarding school around Middelburg area. So we are supporting our districts.
All right, thank you very much indeed,
Mr.
MEC. Okay. All right, can we get the microphone to table 4? We'll hear from our other MEC, MEC Panyaza Lesufi. MEC, I just want to get your take as well on the state of play in your districts, but also I had an interesting conversation with a school principal at a junior school. This is all the way in KZN, but I think this is an issue that's concerning a lot of teachers. It's particularly around school governing bodies, and I know that you're a champion for these. They're saying they're struggling to get quorums, especially in a lot of the black schools, inverted commas, because you're saying that you need to get all the parents there, and they just can't get them to arrive. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you're facing and how you're dealing with them in your districts.
Thank you so much. Our school stands and falls on parents. Parents are the pillar of running a school. They're the one that determines the fees. They're the one that recommends the appointment of principals and teachers. And we want to emphasize the point that it will be good if parents participate in school governing bodies. There's no choice, actually. These are schools. They need to ensure that they are there. And indeed, it's a worrying trend to have a school governing body that can correlate or a meeting that can correlate. But we are hopeful. We've upped our advocacy campaign, and thanks for the opportunity and the platform now. Every parent that is out there, it's your choice, it's your call. Make yourself available.
And what if they can't be available? What do you do?
They should. It's their children, actually, at the end of the day.
It's true. It's true. I think the minister's right. The good thing is that if they're not available, we'll impose good people on them. And that's the only way.
All right. Okay. The other thing is I'm seeing these service delivery protests taking place, and it's one thing to march and to protest, and the president has said do it peacefully. You've got every right to protest. But one thing that we're starting to seeing with regular occurrence, which is sad, is the burning of libraries. And I just wonder if you could just comment on that, and perhaps even speak directly to the communities out there about the importance of these libraries.
Not libraries. Peter, it's extremely depressing to see what our communities can do, even to their own children. When I read the Malamulele report at what we had lost, in one school we had lost the entire delivery of your learner support material, entire. We lost entire computers in the school. It was the worst that I've ever seen in SSM. And that's a poor area that whereas the province we try, Limpopo is not a very rich province, but the experience of Malamulelo was the worst that I think any adult, and to think there were doctors also in those protest marches, I just found it quite gutting. I mean, I was very shocked when I read the report. I'm sure, I think the nation will really feel get cold if they can know what, as taxpayers, they lost in those Malamulelo protests. It destabilizes even families. Gauteng was telling me that just during that period, that more than 37,000 kids running from Malamulelo to come to Gauteng. 37,000 kids means 337 schools. That's the size of numbers of kids that came to Gauteng. It destabilizes families, destabilizes kids. We're told by directors that kids were moving even to other schools outside. Others were studying at night. Because children, I think, which is a very good thing for children, they really want to study. And if adults can go to that extent, it just leaves me cold. When children are more responsible than adults. And we're trying hard. Treasury has given us money for school libraries. I'm scared at this level of irresponsibility in committees where they can go and gutter and burn down a library. I think it's the worst form of barbarism. Extremely, I really feel very emotional about it. Maybe I shouldn't use strong words, but it really upsets me the way our committees.
How do we re-educate people then to teach them that we can't be doing things like this? Educate
doctors in Malawi. Some of those people are PhD at university, doctors about the value of education. I just couldn't explain. It's not you're illiterate who don't value education. It's educated people who rob other people's children of their education. It's selfish to the core. So it's more of morality than lack of education. It's just lack of morality even to do it. I just don't think it.
All right, let's go to table number one. It's an interesting question, and this is one that I've actually raised with you a few times. Let's go to Edwin Madisha.
Thanks, Peter. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes.
Morning, Minister and Deputy Minister. Minister of Finance, Mr. Nene, raised the issue of decentralization of some of the competencies, like the procurement of the LTSM. So my question is, how will this decentralization process improve efficacy and eliminate bureaucracy? Thank you.
No, the LTSM, some are going to be decentralized, some are going to be centralized. As a sector, we've committed ourselves that in this term, we want to ensure that every child has a book in a learning area. And for us to achieve that, we have to use our money wisely, efficiently, but also choose the best material in terms of quality management. So we've gone through an extensive screening exercise where our subject experts, your teachers, your provincial managers, I think they stayed for 2 months just screening through the books in the sector so that we get the best books. So it was a very objective, neutral exercise to say these are the best books that are aligned to your curriculum to manage the quality issue. With Treasury, we're saying we'll work with our provinces to also look then at economy. So it's not decentralizing, as you say, is to have a transversal contract, making sure that indeed our private sector can equally benefit from the cake, but also making sure that we can manage costs. We've done that in the past and it works well, and we think if we centralize the procurement with the province to have just one national tender, we'll be able to manage the cost so that we are having one book. We'll make sure that the sector itself, the private sector, dealing with LTSM is not badly affected so that the contract goes to one company. We're sensitive to all those things to make sure that indeed, but also to make sure that we can save. Your finance people tell us that with the budget we have, if we use it wisely, efficiently, we should be able to achieve this objective of having every child having a book in a subject. And it goes back to parents again. Parents must bring back books if we're to achieve that. Books are supposed to last for 3 years. Parents don't pay for those books. They must make sure that when their child goes to the next grade, they return books so that the other children can use them. And we can only achieve this objective if our communities cooperate and return and retrieve books and make sure that books are returned. So, yeah, so I'm answering the fact that even with infrastructure, very tight in schools because there's lots of inefficiency. We're buying a classroom at different prices in different provinces for no clear reasons. So we're working with Treasury again to manage the cost and the spending in the rural area, infrastructure, and are moving to this model of also having boarding schools because there's rapid urbanization. In 5 years' time, we have plans, you go to Treasury to make a bid for money. In 3 years' time, the landscape has completely changed. And you really no longer have the very people that were planning for 2 years back. So there's there's rapid urbanization, which also is forcing us with Treasury to work differently and tighten up and improve our efficiency also in terms of service delivery. There are services that we are going to decentralize, like the appointment of teachers, to make sure that we can respond speedily. Your maintenance of schools, so that if there's a break, schools and districts can respond. So there are essential services which are going to be decentralized to make sure that schools are able to, and districts are able to respond. If the toilets are breaking, schools should be able to respond without having to wait for the province to respond.
Okay, so I'm starting to get some questions coming through Twitter. Ndoro asks a question: why is the department restricting our kids to attend schools in the suburbs by seeking addresses in their area? So you have to have an address in the area that you want to go to school in. That keeps coming up, and I suppose there's a logic to it.
It's a management issue.
Yeah.
We have a policy which says we have to be within a radius. So it will be quite sad, Peter, if I stay here in Midrand, there's a school, because it's everyone coming, first come, first serve, then I have to go and drive my kid to another area. It just will inconvenience parents, inconvenience the kids. Even when parents buy homes, they buy, especially young parents, informed by proximity to the school. So if we have a school quite close to you and then it's open up, it just will create lots of confusion. It's really a management tool to ensure that parents are able to take their kids to the nearest school. Because if you want to go to that school, there's also a parent living in that area who also would want their child to go to that school.
I suppose it speaks to the notion that people think that a school in another area is better than the school in their area.
And sometimes not informed. I always boast about my area in Midrand. There's no school in Midrand which performs under 80%. Really gives you good results. They give you up to 90%. The Midrand Secondary gave us up to 80% bachelors. Very few schools in town will even beat that feat. So it's us. I think it's perceptions here around what is quality, that the town is quality, township is not quality. We have quite a number of extremely good schools in the township that I think will provide quality education for parents. But it's a choice issue. Unfortunately, we have to match it up with just managing the sector.
All right. Okay, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with your Twitter questions. And also, Spiwe Hlatwayo is here on table number 3. He's got a question. Stay with us.